Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, or as we like to call it, the Triath Podcast, where we try not to mess the podcast up. And today we are going to read a chapter from the book, The Familiar, which is mine, and is coming out on February 3rd. That is this Tuesday. And let me get the ebook set up here. And then next week we're going to review Underworld, one way or the other, because we've been on a vampire movie kick. So even though our reviews are doing terrible, but I don't know how else to incorporate fiction, man. I'm like, okay, well, I guess we'll just keep confusing the algorithm. I don't know. So,
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to start here.
I'm going to kill my camera for a minute. You go ahead, buddy.
All right, sounds good, man.
I'll be listening.
All right, so this is Chapter 8 of The Familiar, and I'm just going to jump right into it. Actually, let me open my can really fast because I'm going to need to drink something by the end here. So, all right, Madeline led me to Marcy's room where I stood beside Charles and Katie. Marcy was laid out on a large bed, dressed in a white silk gown. As the saying goes, she looked to be sleeping. Her eyes were closed, her hands folded across her chest. She was pretty, no more than 20, with brown hair cut just above the shoulders. Her frame was trim, the picturesque version of youth. The Familiar stood shoulder to shoulder in the crowded room, and we all watched as Madeline sat down beside the body and gently brushed the dead girl's hair like a mother watching over a sleeping child. We waited, and nothing happened for a long time. No one spoke, no one moved, and no one was prepared when Marcy sat up. That was all she did. She didn't moan, she didn't stir, she didn't take a breath. She sat straight up, her eyes open and wide. She scanned the room, shifting in the bed nervously as she shifted her arms and observed her pale skin. Her motion was languid and feline. It was like she was made of water. Her chest didn't rise and fall. There was something wrong about a moving body that doesn't breathe. It was as if cause and effect no longer applied to her flesh. Marcy opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. She looked at Madeline, confused. "You must force the body to breathe," Madeline said. "It no longer needs air." Marcy nodded. It took her a few minutes. I felt like I was watching a baby learn to walk. She grabbed her throat, opening and closing her mouth as she sucked in gasps of air. She tried to force words out of her mouth, but only managed a series of croaks and groans. Finally, she closed her eyes. I'm not sure what she did differently, but after a minute, her chest began to rise and fall. "There you go," Madeline purred. "Madeline," Malcolm, Marcy whispered. "Malcolm," Marcy croaked. "Malcolm," Marcy screamed. Then the tears came. She buried her head in Madeline's bosom and wept. Madeline held her. "I know, sweet child, it was too soon." "I should have listened," Marcy wailed. "I just didn't want to go back in there. I didn't want to cheat on my boyfriend. Now I'll never see him again." "Let's not think on such things," Madeline said. "You need to feed, child. The sooner we quiet the hunger, the easier it will be to teach you restraint." "I don't want blood," Marcy said, looking up at her new mother. Something hot and wild flashed through her eyes, changing her expression from a young woman to a primitive animal filled with rage. She meant to kill something, anything. "I want Malcolm. I want his throat." "You couldn't take his life," Madeline said plainly. "He's far too strong, but trust me, he will be dealt with. I have already spoken to Arkin. He'll be here this evening, and Malcolm will pay." When Marcy heard her new mother's words, the rage left her, and she melted, practically collapsing into Madeline's chest. For a moment, I thought she'd swooned, but she opened her eyes and met Madeline's stare. She nodded, sat up, and set her jaw. Madeline turned to us. "Patricia," she barked. I was surprised to hear the anger in her voice. "You were supposed to be watching this child, and you left her alone. It's your blood she'll taste first." Then she glared at Charles and Katie. "Had Jerome died, I would have demanded the same from one of you. Remember that." Both Katie and Charles nodded, and Charles shot me a bitter glare. I couldn't help but roll my eyes. If there was anyone besides me who was to blame for this, it was Charles. He'd refused to stay with us, though his true love had told him to do so. Of course, Charles wasn't the type to blame himself. I felt certain one phrase was running through the dullard's mind. Madeline is mad at me, and it's his fault. Patricia slowly approached Marcy. But you've already fed on me, she muttered to Madeline. Then you best hope I pull her off you in time, Madeline said coldly. What if I refuse? Patricia asked. Then consider our contract finished, Madeline said. Patricia gulped. She stuck out her hand, and Madeline took it, holding the wrist just under Marcy's nose. Marcy sniffed and gave Madeline an unsure look. Her wide, innocent eyes would have been endearing if it weren't for the fact that they'd turned black. Go ahead, Dove, Madeline said. I won't let you kill her. Patricia started to cry. Marcy took Patricia's wrist with both hands and bit. I heard this flesh tear. Patricia let out a cry, then a moan. She hit her knees, her free hand grasping her shirt as she grew aroused. Her back arched, her moans grew louder, the tears ran faster down her cheeks. Blood dripped from the wrist as Marcy slurped and chomped, gnawing at the wound. The fangs rose and fell from the two holes in the familiar skin. At last, Patricia's eyes rolled to the back of her head, and she went limp. Madeline grabbed Marcy's hair and snapped her head back, prying her fangs from the wound. Patricia's body crumbled to the floor. Marcy began to scream and hiss, her voice inhuman. More, more, more. Madeline didn't reply. She held the struggling vampire by her hair and eyed us as we huddled together in the far corner of the room. After a few minutes, the vampire went still and lowered her head, trembling and panting even though she didn't need air. Is she all right? One of the familiars asked. She's faking, Madeline replied mildly. We're not done. Marcy's head snapped up, and she scanned the room. Her gaze fell on me. Our eyes locked. She looked so desperate and sad. As I stared into her black eyes, everything around her started to blur. All I saw was her face. I wanted to help her. Before I knew what I was doing, I took a step toward the new vampire, but Katie caught my wrist. Don't look, Katie hissed. I pulled my eyes away from Marcy and turned to Katie. She'll hypnotize you, try to make you come near her. Madeline must have noticed. She yanked the girl's hair so hard, I was scared she would tear it from Marcy's scalp. Stop, she said firmly. Marcy growled. Her roar sounded like a cat, a high-pitched gurgling wail. You've fed enough, Madeline said. Finally, the new vampire truly relaxed. She lowered her head and her shoulders slumped. It seemed to be over, but Madeline did not let go. She glared at us. We were all pressed together, shaking like sheep in a slaughterhouse. This is how every vampire suffers, Madeline said. Now imagine going through this while waking up in a coffin. Imagine wandering a graveyard with this hunger inside you. The longer you go without feeding, the more the hunger grows. Is it any wonder a vampire targets their family first? I want you to think on that when you decide whether or not to become what I am. She gave us a wry smile, some food for thought. She tilted her head toward the unconscious Patricia. Amy, Chad, I want you to take her to the bathing room. Bathe her in warm water, then put her to bed. When she wakes up, make sure she eats. Amy and Chad fought their way through the compressed horde of humanity in the corner and carried the girl out of the room. When they were gone, Madeline regarded us once more. Remember what's at stake. Life here is safe when you follow the rules. Don't grow negligent again. Arkin will return in a few hours. I expect everyone to be in pairs. Is that understood? We all nodded. And that's all I'm going to read for now. That is...
Well done, sir.
What?
I said, well done, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I won't torture anyone else with more of the ad, but that is the first part of Chapter 8 of The Familiar. And if you want to get that book, it'll be available on Amazon. I'm forgetting my own due date. February 3rd, Tuesday. So you can get it on Amazon, or you can go to GaryPaulVarner.org. That's GaryPaulVarner.org. That's GaryPaulVarner.org. And buy it there. The audiobook and the print version are available at the website. So
It's a great website, too.
thank you very much. I appreciate that. I worked pretty hard on it. So not bad for a Wix site, I guess. So anyway. Well, if you're watching this on the live stream, stay with us. We're going to be talking about the Epstein Pist. If you are watching this after the fact, Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Faith, Fiction, and Folklore. If you did, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Rumble. We can also be found on X, Instagram, and Facebook. And we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Thank you again very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.